8th day, Chag Sukkah, Feast of Booths, 22nd Yom of the 7th month, Shby'ay Chudash, 7th month. So, as we went through the first 7 days, we were commanded to be inside of a booth, a temporary dwelling place, symbolization of our bodies, of our temples, our temporary body that we inhabit as a supernatural being inside of a physical body, that we may walk in newness of life and may walk in understanding and see the world within, from within, that we may continue to adhere to the sound of the Daber, the bar, the wisdom and Kukma, the word of Yahushua Mashiach, the vibration and the frequency and the tuning of the instruments and the distinction of sound that emits from the voice of Yahuwah, from the mouth of Yahuwah, as the breath that we live by. And as sentient beings, as human beings living in an inhabited earth, that we live continually at this time, we acknowledge the one who made all things during these times. As the culmination of the cosmos aligns, as the culmination of all things come to completion and consummation, we look at this Yom as the last day. How do you say? The last great day, of the feast of Chag Sukkah. Knowing that in due time, as the beginning comes to culmination to the end, that we may be found pure and ahab, and pure and righteous, in compassion and love and humility, in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, temperance, amunah, brotherly kindness, sisterly kindness, and forgiveness, and in love. That our true minds and our thoughts may be true continually. Knowing that even now, that we must close the doors of our minds for all carnal will and all carnal thought, all emotions, all fears, and all desires. That we may receive the bar, the wisdom, the kukma, the knowledge and understanding, that we may stay illuminated in a world full of darkness. That the light and the ore that was from the beginning, and all the gods and the goddesses that received the word, and that received the word, he gave you power to become the children of Yahuwah, the children of light. That when you dwell inside of your physical basar, your natural man, you may walk even as he walked, to be as he is in the world. So as we move forward in compassion, in love, in humility, in self-control, in simcha, in joy, in patience, in temperance, amunah, in faith. So this is Proverbs 8, or Mashali 8 through 11. It says, all the words of my mouth are righteous. Right? All the words of my mouth are righteous, and there's nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instructions instead of silver, and knowledge rather than gold, for wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. So when you look at wisdom and kukma, we look at the understanding, and the kukma is greater than silver and than gold, than any jewels, even all of the jewels, sardonyx, sapphire, all the things that people desire, diamonds, gold, silver, money in general, as value. We look at knowledge and understanding and wisdom as our destiny And that's how it should be everyone's destiny in this world, in the culmination and the consummation of the end of their life, to have this wisdom and knowledge and understanding within. So it says, for wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. Nothing when it comes to wisdom. So the word for crooked is akish or ikesh. It means distorted, false, crooked, forward, or perverse. So all the words of Yahuwah's mouth, nothing in it is distorted, false, crooked, forward, or perverse. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So the word for straight is nakuak or nakoak, and it means straightforward, equitable, correct, integrity, uprightness. So they are all upright to those who understand. So all the words of Yahuwah is upright to those who understand. It is also straightforward. So you know how we talks about don't go to the left or to the right, but go straight. It's straightforward. It's equitable. It brings value to your life. It brings value and riches to your inward man. It is correct. It is integrity, right? It is integrity. And it is also uprightness. Because when you look at the word, the Deber Debar wisdom, Kukma, Yahushua Mashiach, the word of Yahuwah, how he formed and how he shaped every single thing in the foundation of the universe, it was made upright. Right? It was made right. Right? So Psalm Talim 111 and 10 says, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning. It is the Rashith, or the beginning of wisdom. And all those who practice it have a good understanding. His praise endures forever. So when we start looking at fear of Yahuwah, it's the beginning of wisdom. And all those who practice it have a good understanding. His praise endures forever. When people look at that word fear, they assume it's what the world calls fear. It is a fear. It's an awe of a majesty or a person who rules. It's something that it's honor. Right? When you look at honor, you look at something that is honorable. Right? When you look at all the gods and things that are on the earth, there's nothing more honorable than to worship the one who made everything. When you look at that word for fear, right? The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. So all those who practice it have a good understanding. So this is actually what you see today. This is honoring. We're honoring something that he told one to do. It is a practice. It is a rehearsal. This is the last day, the last day of Chag Sukkah. This is a practice. This is something that we do in reverence to him, not in a religious sense, because we know that we dwell inside of this natural body. We are gods and goddesses inside of a natural human body, and we walk and we live the world through our inward man. We know that this is not a religious practice. This is something that we understand by dwelling inside of our own body. Right? So this is Wisdom of Solomon, Kukma Shli Shaloma 3:9 through 13. It said, they that put their trust in Yahuwah shall understand the truth. Right? When you trust in Yahuwah with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength, he say what? You're going to understand the truth. He say, all those who practice it, the fear of Yahuwah, have a good understanding. He said, they that trust in Yahuwah shall understand the truth. And such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. Faithful. Right? And in love. It says, for grace or khan and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. Right? He does. He has care for his children. It says, but the ungodly or unrighteous shall be punished according to their own imaginations. So when we start looking at our own imaginations, our own thoughts, and our own evil mind, right? When we have our own imaginations, then we'll find ourselves doing some things. Guess what we'll do? It says, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken Yahuwah. So you start neglecting righteousness and forsaking Yahuwah, the one who made all things. You know, the person you're supposed to fear or have honor and awness toward, who made all things. He said, you forsake him. You have your own imaginations, your own evil mind, and you neglect righteousness. So verse 11 says, "For whoso despises wisdom and nurture, he is miserable." Right? So when we think about wisdom and kukma, it's above riches, money, gold, silver, jewels. Right? It's above that. Some people we can't put money, wisdom, money, silver, and gold and jewels above a human being. You can't put that. You can't. It has to be at the bottom. Just like we spoke about before. You think about Yahuwah, then you see Yahusha, and you see the household, the man, woman, children. You see the culmination, and money's at the bottom. Because that's the things that, people put in front, but it's at the bottom. It said, "He is miserable, and their hope is vain." It's all vanity. Right? Like Shaluma talks about all this vanity and vexation of the Ruach, right? But that's when you put all these things above wisdom and nurture. Of course, it's going to be vanity and all vexation. You got everything above wisdom, nurture, understanding, and the fear of Yahuwah. So, of course, it's going to be all vanity to you. Right? Hoping in the eternal life. Right? It says, "Their labor is unfruitful." Right? It's not fruitful. Like be fruitful and multiply. No. "And their works unprofitable." It says, "Their wives are foolish, and their children wicked, and their offspring is cursed." So this is the reason why you see the world the way it is. It has nothing to do with what you see today. Like when you start looking at Planned Parenthood, Willie Lynch syndrome, all these things that people make up as excuses, right? And things that people permeate, or slave trade or slavery. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that humans have despised wisdom and nurture. And they are miserable, right? These are all just miserable things to talk about every single day. These are all the things that one has happened because one despised wisdom and nurture. And they had the fear of Yahuwah, they forsook the righteous, and they didn't have love, and they wasn't faithful in it. That's the only reason. Like we can go through the culmination of history. Of course, it goes way back in his story, all the way back, even further than Willie Lynch in 1777, and it goes even further back. From the first corporation that ever was established, to the first stock market, to the first, civilization. For the first time, people found out about Ra, or evil. Right? So this is Wisdom of Solomon, Kukma Shri Shaluma 7:6-14. It says, "For all men have one entrance into life, and the like going out." So we all came through a woman, the matrix of a woman, the pain and the anguish of a woman. Man came into the world. And guess what it is? When you get out of here, depending on how, it's the same way out. Right, you have one entrance in here, you got one entrance leaving. You came in through a Watergate portal into this world, you're leaving out of one. Right? You're leaving out of one. Verse 7 says, "Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given to me. I called upon all Yahuwah, and the Ruach of wisdom came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, and esteemed riches. Nothing's in comparison of her." So see, when you start putting wisdom, kukma, knowledge, understanding, fear of Yahuwah above riches, thrones, scepters, being lord over somebody, being a head of a household, being an oppressor or dominating king or ruler, Caesar, Augustus, or any type of ruler, president. Like when you desire wisdom, kukma, knowledge, understanding, it says nothing is a comparison to it. I think you should have that before you start getting all these other things, right? Verse 9 says, "Neither compare I unto her in any precious stone, because all gold in respect to her is all as little sand, and silver shall be counted as clay before her." So when we start looking at all these aspects, we start looking at how these things came to be. Verse 11 says, all good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hands, and I rejoiced in them all. He said, I rejoiced in them all, right? Because wisdom goeth before them, and I knew not that she was the mother of them. Yes. Once you get understanding, it's like, man, in order for me to these things to even be created, or for me to even attain it, he's like, wisdom had to make it. Kukma had to make it. He said, I learned diligently and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches. Right? For she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of Yahuwah, friends of all Yahuwah, being commended for the gifts that come from learning. So when you think about learning, we'll be learning until we leave the earth and go back to the dust where we're all destined to. But he said, if you get wisdom, man, you be a friend of Yahuwah. Because these are the type of people Yahuwah wants around him. Wise individuals. Right? We say, I'm a friend of Yahuwah. I'm a friend of Yahushua Mashiach. Yahushua said, you be my friend if you do whatsoever I tell you to do. Whatsoever I command you. I mean, you're a very wise individual. Right? It says ODE Solomon, ODE 7. It says, my joy is Yahuwah, and my course is toward him. This way of mine is beautiful. It's very beautiful. Right? Also, everything the true, just, pure, lovely, is beautiful. Think on these things, right? It says, for there is a helper for me. Yahuwah has generously shown himself to me in simplicity, because his kindness has diminished his grandeur. Right? He became like me, that I might receive him in form. He considered like me, that I might put him on. Put him on. He came like me. I trembled not when I saw him, because he was gracious to me. Like my nature he became, that I might understand him, and like my form, that I might not turn away from him. The Father of knowledge is the word of knowledge. He who created wisdom is wiser than his works. So when we look at wisdom, so you got layers to this thing. You got silver, gold, money, riches, thrones, dominions, man, sand, dust. Then you got wisdom. Then you have then you have the being who made wisdom. And he's wiser than all the things he made with wisdom that he created. The kukma that he created. So it's better to fear that person than to fear the things that he created. Right? Because he's greater than those things. You only can fear something that's greater in power and might. It says, and he who created me when yet I was not knew what I would do when I came into being. On account of this, he was gracious to me in his abundant grace or khan, and allowed me to seek from him and to benefit from his sacrifice. Right? So when we start looking at this being, Yahuwah, and his being Yahusha, we look at these aspects of their sacrifice, him putting on our nature, him coming down in the form of human body, that we may understand, and that we may understand what we are in our nature, and that our nature is weak, but he makes you strong. It says, for he it is who is incorruptible, the perfection of the worlds and their Father. So when we look at the one who's wiser than his works, Yahuwah, who makes wisdom, we look at the fear of Yahuwah, we look at love, we look at walking in love and seeking him out and desiring wisdom more than thrones, dominions, and all the things that one would desire, even health and beauty, and all the things that we look at in this world that we desire, right? So this is Wisdom of Solomon 8:1-16. It says, wisdom reaches for one end to another mightily, and sweetly does she order all things. I loved her and sought her out from my youth. I desired to make her my spouse, and I was a lover of her beauty. Right. So when we look at beauty, we look at joining in. Right. You start looking at the aspect and understanding, even from a youth. Right. No matter how old one is, you should seek out these things. Why? Because it's going to make you and allow you to have better decisions in your life. Verse 3 says, in that she is conversant with all Yahuwah, right? They talk. Guess what? She magnified her nobility. Why? Because you have Chukmah and wisdom, you're the friend of Yahuwah. You're a friend of all Yahuwah. It says, yea, the master of all things himself loved her, right? When you start looking at this aspect, we start looking about how people want Yahuwah to love them, or I want to be loved like a son or a daughter. Having wisdom and Chukmah will allow that for you. And guess what it says? For she is privy to the mysteries of the knowledge of Yahuwah, all Yahuwah, and a lover of his works. Right? And it said, if riches be a possession to be desired in this life, what is richer than wisdom that worketh all things? It works all that. Riches, honor, all that stuff that people desire. Verse 16, after I am come into mine house, I will repose myself to her, for her conversation has no bitterness, none. And to live with her has no sorrow, but mirth and joy. Now, when I consider these things in myself and pondered them in my mind, in my heart, how that to be allied unto wisdom is immortality. This mortal must put on immortality. Right? So when we think about being immortal, we think about understanding, we think about fear of Yahuwah, we think about Yahushua Mashiach. We think about the word, the bear of the bar, right? Immortal. A goddess inside of a human body. An immortal being, nefesh, your nefesh on the inside, with the ruach on the inside, from the neshama. Right? Verse 18, it says, and great pleasure it has to have her friendship. And in the works of her hands are infinite riches. Infinite. And in the exercise of conference with her, prudence, and in talking with her, a good report. I went about seeking how to take her to me. Right, so when you start looking at these aspects, you look at this not only as a companionship, you look at how this needs to be inside of a person, inside of a woman, inside of a man, inside of a child, right? These are the things that one has to look at when it comes to transforming oneself in immortality. So this is Job, EU 28:12. It says, but where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man does not know its worth. All right, you see his worth. We just read it. It says, it is not found in the land of the living. All right, so when we look at it, and he said in the land of the living, it's not in the seen world. The deep says, it is not in me. And the sea says, it is not with me. It cannot be bought for gold or silver, cannot be weighed as its price. It cannot be valued in gold, in the gold Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire, and glass, in zakuth, cannot equal it. So we're thinking about glass and crystals and all these onyx stones, sapphires, gold, all these things, it cannot be compared to it. It says, nor can it be exchanged for jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or Ramah or of crystal. It says, the price of wisdom is above pearls. The topaz of Cush or Ethiopia cannot equal it. Nor can it be valued in pure gold. For where then does wisdom come? Chukmah come. And where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of all the living and concealed from the birds of the air. Abandoned in death say, we heard a rumor. of it with our ears. He said, Yahuwah understands the way of it, and he knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees everything under the Shamayims. When he gave the wind its weight and apportioned the waters by measure. When he made the decree for the rain and a way for the lightning of the thunder. Then he saw it and declared it. He established it and searched it out. And he said to man, behold, the fear of Yahuwah is wisdom. Right? That is Kukma. You have a good understanding too if you practice it too. It says, and to turn away from evil is understanding. He said, they that trust in Yahuwah understand the truth. They will understand the truth and understand what they have to stop doing. People say evil, right? So the reason why we start with wisdom, we always want to understand how one has to be. And as we go through this, we're going to see some things. So this is Bereshit 1:26 through 27. Then the Elohim said, let us make man in our image as in Salam, and after our Damuth, our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Yahuwah created man in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah, he created him. Male, Zakar, and female, Nakubah. He created them. Right. So the Aramaic Targums in Bereshit section 1 says, and Yahuwah said to his Malakim, who ministered before him, who had been created in the second day of creation of the world, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl which are in the atmosphere of the heaven, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every reptile upon the earth. And Yahuwah created man in his likeness, and the word of Yahuwah created man in his likeness. Right? So when we look at the word of Yahuwah that formed and made and shaped wisdom in Kukma itself, right? And that's the very same thing that shaped and formed man, Adam. Right? It says, in the likeness of the presence of Yahuwah, he created him, the male and his yokefellow, and he created them. In the image of Yahuwah, he created him with 248 members, with 360, it says 65, or say 64 nerves, and overlaid them with skin and filled it with flesh and blood. Male and female in their bodies, he created them. And he barakah them, and Yahuwah said to them, increase and multiply and fill the earth with sons and daughters and prevail over it in its possession, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the heavens, the Shamayims, and over every creeping animal that creepeth on the earth, upon the earth. So when we start looking at the original form on how Adam was made, remember he made man, everything was made right. There was nothing crooked or forward or perverse in anything he said. He made man from the dust of the ground. He made man by the word of Yahuwah. All the words of Yahuwah are straightforward, equitable, and upright. Right? Every single word. So if he made man with the upright word, and it wasn't perverse, crooked, or any type of defects in it, that means that's the way he made man. That's exactly the way he made him. He didn't make him with any of these things. Right? And he did it by the word. So if he did it by the word, how does man become perverse, crooked, right? And all that? So this is, the word for image is damuth, which means likeness, similitude, and a likeness as, resemblance, model, shape, fashion, resembling. So he made it nice and good and neat, right? A model, a shape. He put a model image and a shape and a fashion. It looked good. That's what basically what it looked good, right? Because remember, after the sixth day, he said it was very good. It looked good when he made man. In his image, his damuth. Or his likeness, I'm sorry. Yeah. Word for likeness, damuth. So Salim is image, right? So when we look at image, we look at salam. It means image, likeness, empty, representative, a figure, an image, a vain show, an image, an idol. Right. So when we start looking at creating his image and likeness, right, we start looking at, you can be an idol, you can be a god, you can be an image that can be worshipped, depending on, because you are something that can be put up as something that can be worshipped in the earth. But when he made man without any defects. It was upright, equitable. They were made in a certain way. It was made by the word of Yahuwah, right? So the word for male is zakar, right? So we look at zakar, it means male, human and animals. Him, male, man. Remembered, it means a male. It means child, kind, right? Man, child. Right, so this is zakar. Word for female is nakabah. Female, woman, female child, female animal. Right? So when we start looking at female child, female animal, male animal, resemblance, likeness, model, shape, fashioned, we start looking at, he made them by the word of Yahuwah, the word, which is straightforward, equitable, integrity, and uprightness. And that's how he made them. By the word of Yahuwah, by the word. So the word for man is Adam, right? Because, Adam means what? Man, mankind. Man, human being. Man, and you have mankind. Ruddy, that is a human being. So when you see ruddy, we look at a person that is made very good, very ruddy. Ruddy means they were beautiful. So when we see, and also means hypocrite. And we're going to find out, you can be a hypocrite. Adam, right? Why? So the word Aleph, the word Adam is, you got the Aleph, the Daleth, and the Meme, right? Because Aleph is strength, leader, conception, seed planting. Daleth is tent, door, passageway, exit, portal, entrance. Meme is water, semen, springs, flood, above and below firmament, fullness of life, oil flow, cleansing, anoint. You start looking at these aspects. So we look at Adam, right? You look at Aleph and the Dam, right? When you take away Aleph, and you have just a Daleth and the Meme, you get blood. That's what blood means in Hebrew. It's Dam. So you get strength in the blood, right? You add all of them up, 1, 4, and 40, you get 441, right? 441. You add the 4 and the 4 and the 1, you get 9. Right, so when we start looking at the word for Adam, we start looking at these aspects. And then you break it down to the smallest number, a prime number, you get to 3. So all these are aspects of Adam. And there's a lot more other meanings, but then you start looking at how he made man. He made him upright. He made him. It was straightforward, upright. It was integrity. Right? He made him that way. So Bereshith 1:28-31. It says, and all Yahuwah baraked them, and Yahuwah said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. And all Yahuwah said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and of every tree with seed in its fruits, and you shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, the Shamaim, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath. I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. And all Yahuwah saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day, or Sheshiyun. So when we start looking at how he made it, it was good and very good. After he made Adam, he made them upright. He made them with the word of Yahuwah, the word upright. He made them equitable, right? He made them straightforward, right? He made them with the word, right? It was nothing perverse or twisted or crooked in it. So this is the Aramaic Palestinian Targum. It says, and he Barak, it says Bereshit. It says, and he blessed them, the same verse, and he blessed them, and Yahuwah said to them, increase and multiply and fill the earth with sons and daughters, and prevail over it in its possession, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowls of the Shamayim, and over every creeping animal that creepeth on the earth. And Yahuwah said, I have given every herb whose seed seated upon the face of the earth, and every unfruitful tree for the need of building and burning. Right. And it says, and the tree in which is fruit seeding after its kind, to you shall it be for food. But to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the Shamayim, and every reptile upon the earth, in which is it the living soul, I have given all green herbs, and it was so. And Yahuwah beheld everything he had made. It says, it was very good. And it was evening, and it was morning, the 6th day. Right? It was very good. Right? When you look at how he made it, it was very good. It was equitable. It was upright. It was straightforward. There was nothing perverse, crooked, or twisted in it. He made it by the word. All the words of Yahuwah's mouth are right. So the word for plants is esheb or shab. It means herbage, grass, green plants. We went over this before, but it's important to always understand. Vegetation, it means plants, herbs, grass. Right? Word for plants, herbs, is esheb. Word for seed is zara or zera. Right? It means producing, yielding seed, to be sown, to become pregnant, right? To be made pregnant, to produce seed, yielding seed. Zerah is what? Seed sowing, offspring. Semen, virile, offspring, descendants, children, posterity, practitioner, sowing time. It means in Brown Jarvis Big, fruit planting, sowing time, posterity, chronally, child. So when we look at seed planting, we look at scattering seeds, we look at every tree, every fruit yielding seed. Right? We look at these aspects, but this is his original and still plan, only plan. Right? So the word for meat is okla or akla. It means food eating, object devouring, consuming, while consuming, consume, devour, eat, food, meat. Right? All the plants yielding seed, it shall be for food, for you, and all the other herbs shall be for the animals. That was his original plan. And that is his original plan. So this is Bereshit 2 and 7. Then Yahuwah Elohim formed Adam from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living creature. Right? And Yahuwah Elohim planted in the Garden of Eden in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahuwah made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So this is the Aramaic Targum, section 1. It says, same verse, and it says, and Yahuwah Elohim created man in two formations, and took dust from the place of the house of the sanctuary, and from the four winds of the world, and mixed them all in the waters of the world, and created him red, black, and white, and breathed into his nostrils the inspiration of life. And there was in the body of Adam the inspiration of a speaking ruach, unto the illumination of the eyes and hearing of ears, and Adam became a soul of life. Right? So when we start looking at these aspects, we're looking at how he breathed into his nostrils the breath, right? And he became a living creature, a living soul. Right? When you read the Aramaic Targums, it talks about different other aspects, sanctuary, four winds, talks about the colors, it talks about his nostrils, talks about inspiration of speaking, talks about the illumination of eyes and hearing in ears, and becoming a soul of life. A little different. Actually, a lot different. But when we start looking at these aspects, we start putting pieces together to get a better understanding of what's taking place. So the word for dust is afar. It means dry, earth, dust, powder, ashes, earth, ground, mortar, rubbish, dry, loose earth. Right? Then you have, it means dust, powdered or gray, hence clay, earth, mud, right? Ashes. Right? These are all aspects of the word for dust, right? Powder, rubbish. So the word for nostrils is off, right? It means nostrils, nose, face, anger. You ever seen somebody get angry? They show the breath come out of the nose, right? Nostrils, hence face, hence the face. A person, rapid breathing and passion, right? Nostril, right? It also means forehead, forbearing, wrath. When you think about wrath, being created in Yahuwah's image, wrath, anger, right? These are all aspects. Keep these things in mind as we move forward. So the word for breath is neshama, right? When we think about neshama, right? We're going over the vocabulary because it's important. He breathed the breath, right? The breath of life, right? The neshama. It says breath, ruach, breath of man, a puff, a wind, a breath, inspiration, intellect. So he breathed intellect by the word of Yahuwah, right? He breathed intellect, a blast, a breath, an inspiration of life. Like he says, inspiration to speak, or inspiration of life in the inside of the Aramaic Targums, right? And it says soul and spirit, right? He became a living soul, a living being, a soul of life, the neshama, a blast, right? So when we start looking at him breathing in his nostrils, you see how he made man. And this breath that he breathed into him, this intellect, this inspirational intellect, was equitable, upright. It had nothing crooked or perverse with it. So the word for fruitful is parah. And he said, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth with sons and daughters, and overcome it. So parah is to bear fruit, to be fruitful, branch of. Notice it says branch of, to bear fruit, to be fruitful, to cause to bear fruit, to make fruitful, to show fruitfulness, to bear fruit. Right? So when we start looking at bearing fruit, right, we look at continually bearing fruit. Let us offer the sacrifice of praise continually as the fruit of our lips. When we start looking at being fruitful and multiply, in the sense that he was saying, bear sons and daughters, he was saying, become fruitful and multiply as one family. Right? So the word for multiply is Rabbah. So Yahuwah created man in a certain image, in his likeness, a model of fashion and shape, upright, equitable, without no crookedness, without no twisted. He made it with the word. It says Rabbah means to become great, to be or become great. So when you look at Adam and how he originally made everything, he made man to be great. It says be or become many, to become much, to become numerous, to become many, to be or to grow great, to make a large, enlarge, increase, become many, to make much. Right? It can also mean to multiply, increase. It also means transgress greatly, to increase greatly and exceedingly, and make enlarge. Right? So when we start looking at increasing, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and become fruitful, we start looking at the original plan of man is to be great. Is to be great. Right? So the word for fill, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, right, with sons and daughters, or to, how you say, become abundant, right? You got malay, or male, or mala, or malay. It means what? To fill, to be full, to fullness, abundance. Become great, multiply, and to do what? Fill, right? It also means to accomplish, be accomplished, right? That's his original plan. He wants us to accomplish things in the world. The same way he made Adam, he made him and he accomplished it. He wants man that he made and he accomplished and made, he wants them to accomplish things and be great. It says consecrate and fill. It says be filled. It also means to confirm, right? To accomplish and confirm, right? So we look at that, consecrate, replenish, right? So this is Bereshit 2:8. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden in Eden, in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. All right, so you got all these trees in the garden. People say they want eternal life, but they don't like to eat plants. Right? It's all numbered trees and fruits. It says a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden. The Gan, right? And there it divided and became 4 rivers. The name of the first is Pison. It is the one that flowed around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Remember, we talked about wisdom is better than gold. It's more valuable. Kukma is more valuable than gold. It says, and the gold of that land is good. And guess what it says? Bdellium and onyx stones are there. It's greater than, remember, Kukma is greater than onyx stones and gold. And it says, the name of the second river is Gihon. It says, it is the one that flowed around the whole land of Cush. Right? And the name of the third river is Tigris, which flows east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. So you got 4 rivers. Right? It says, Yahuwah Elohim took Adam and put him in the garden of Eden to work it and to keep it. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded Adam, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day you eat of it, you shall surely move. So when you start seeing surely die, that word for surely is move. And then that word for die is move. It's said twice. You shall surely move. Move. You shall move. You shall surely die. right? So this is Bereshith. So keep that in mind with the muth. You shall surely die. Surely and die. Muth. So the Aramaic, the Palestinian or the Aramaic Targum, Bereshith section 1 says, and a garden from the Eden of the just was planted by the word of Yahuwah Elohim. So if he made the garden with the word, because every word of Yahuwah is what? It's not crooked, not perverse. What is all straightforward, equitable, and upright. So he made the garden with the word. He made Adam with the word. He said, be great, fruitful, and multiply, replenish the earth. He made him a model, a fate, shape, a shadow, fashion, made him ruddy. He did all these things. He had him authority to fish, sea, fowls, every creeping thing, and all the earth. Right? He said, it's very good. He said, I made the garden by the word of Yahuwah too. He says, by the word of Yahuwah Elohim, before the creation of the world. Oh, you mean wisdom kukma is greater than gold and silver and onyx stones. Right? Whether it's gold, He said, before the creation of the world, and he made there to dwell the man when he had created him. And Yahuwah all made to grow from the ground every tree that was desirable to behold and good to eat, and the tree of life in the midst of the garden, whose height was a journey of 500 years, and the tree of whose fruit they who ate would distinguish between good and evil. And the tree of the knowledge, of which anyone who ate would distinguish between good and evil. So it says it twice, right? And it says, and a river went from Eden to water the garden, and from thence was separated and became 4 heads of rivers and 4 chief rivers. The name of the first was Pison, that is, which compasses all the land of Hindinki. It says Hindinki in there. And it says, where there is gold. It says, and the gold of that land is choice, which is good. It says, there is Beldika and precious stones of Beryls. And the name of the second river is Gekon, that is, which compasseth all the land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Diglath, that is, it which goeth to the east of Athor. And the fourth river is Pherath. And Yahuwah all took the man from the mountain of worship where he had created, and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden, to do service in the law and keep its commandments. To keep its commandments. The commandments of the garden. And Yahuwah took the man and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden, and set him to do service in the law and to keep it. To keep the commandments. Keep the garden's commandments. Right? And Yahuwah all commanded Adam, saying, every tree of the garden eating thou mayest eat, but of the tree of whose fruit they who eat become wise to know between good and evil. It says, thou shalt not eat of it. Thou shalt not eat, for in the day that thou eatest, thou wilt surely be guilty of death. Right? So when we start looking at understanding, all right, good and evil and distinguishing, and we start looking at how he made man, right, and how he first formed man, right, the things that he created man to do, right? So the word for Eden, or Aden, or Adon, right, it means pleasure. It means the first habitat of man after the creation. The first, right? And it, of course, it has other things, right? It's a sight unknown, right, and other things. It says, from an unused, it says, garden of home of Adam and Kul. So when we start looking at Aden, right, we start looking at the garden, right, where Adam was formed. He made it by the word of Yahuwah. So, all the words of his mouth was Nothing perverse, crooked, or crooked. It was all upright, equitable, and straightforward. Right? So when you look at the ayin, it was, the word Aydah is made with ayin, daleth, and nun, final form. I mean, man's wisdom. So when we look at ayin, it's see. Daleth is door, and nun is life, continual. So you can look at it and you put the words together, right? You say, see the door of life. See the door of life. Right? You look at Eden. That's why Yahushua said, I am the door. No man can come to you, the Ab, except through me. Right? So when we look at see the door of life, Yahushua said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Didn't he tell Adam to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth? Right. So the word for surely and die in that Bereshit 2:27, I said muth, it means muth, right? But if you go up to the top, you see two memes, a u, a wa, and a tu. Right? You see two memes. Right? Pay attention to that. It says, guess what it says? Because when you go to look at this word, it'll have two memes. But when you look at that word surely and die, the word surely and die it says surely it means muth, and die is muth. It's muth. So they have put two memes here with the muth, just to give you an understanding that it means double die, like accelerated muth. So it means to die, kill, have one executed. To die, the penalty, to put to death, to die, to perish. Perish of a nation, to die prematurely. Right? Neglect of wise moral conduct. Oh, you mean they neglected Yahuwah? They neglected the righteous and turned away from Yahuwah, and they despised wisdom and nurture? Muth. Right? It means to kill, put to death, dispatch, right? It also means death, right? So when you look at muth, it has mumuth, right? Mumuth, or two memes and a wa in the top, and then you go down, the same word, but it's in the Strongs, right? When we go to etymology, right, you see two memes. In Brown Jarvis Briggs, you see two memes, but then in the Strong, you see one meme. So you see muth, right? It means to bring about my death, right? Bring death, cause the death. Certainly die, or like it says, you will surely die. Put to death, corpse, deceased, destroy, die, killed, right? Muth, right? Keep that in mind, right? So the word, so you see meme. So when you add up meme, the muth with the double memes, you got meme, u, and ta, or tu, right? So when you see water, flow, spring, flood, chaos, semen, right? And then you have a nail peg, hook, and join. Then you have the ta, which is four corners, northwest, south, east, and west, all totality, completion, sign, mark, signature, right? Totality, completion, right? These are all aspects of what? The muth word, the word for muth. Right? So when we start looking at these aspects of muth, and we start understanding, right, that you can look at putting the words together, right? It says what? The nail that joins, or the nail or the sign or mark that joins, right? Or the water that flows through totality of the nail, right? That flows. Or you can use it in multiple sentences. The four directions, the four corners of the earth are secured or nailed or joined to the water that flows. right? But then you look at death, you say, why would death allow you to do that? What does death have to do with that? Right? How does that have any type of bearing on anything? How does death bring forth completion or totality or a nail joined to the four corners or totality, right? Secured in the water that flows or springs. All right, we look at death as something that is unavoidable for everybody, right? But this is to be killed, right? So we look at meme, wa, and we look at the double memes, and we look at the double memes in the u and the tav or the tu. You'll see what? Meme, wa, and tu, right? That's 40, because meme is 40, u is 6, and tav is 400, tu is 400, right? Then you get 486 equals to 18 equals to 9. And you equals, of course, you break it down even further, you get to 3. So when we start looking at death, right, or muth, or surely die, muth, right, we look at it as, how you say, with nails, a peg, a tent peg, a nail, a completion, a sign, a mark for totality. And it also means water flow and springs of a flood. Right? When you look at the word muth without the double meme, of course, you know, meme wa too, it means 46 and 400 equals to 446 equals to 14 and equals to 5. So when we start looking at this aspect, if you look at the fifth letter of the alphabet, the fifth letter of the alphabet is behold, revealed. Right, you look at 14. You look at 14 generations, right? You could even go up to the double meaning. 9 equals what you call a 9th hour, right? And 3 you can look at as the 3rd day. But when we start looking at muth or mamuth, you shall surely die. It all has a meaning. All of it has a meaning. So the word for garden is gan. Right, gone, or garden, enclosure, fenced, or you say garden of plants, fenced, or garden, right? So you look at gamo and noon, right? Reward, do good, to treat a person well or ill, to wean, camel or yielding. It says noon, life, continual, perpetual, resprout. Right. So when you look at gan, or I say the garden, you know, you can look at it as the reward of life, the continual reward of life, the reward of continual life, people that do good. Right. When we start looking at a perpetual, continual life and reward to those who do good. Right. We look at the garden, the gan, right. What do you mean the garden? The garden? How does that have anything to do with it? Right? When we start looking at the garden, the garden, and we start looking at where man was made from, you know, his original place where he was, we have to look at it the way it is. Right? Gamo and noon, or gimel and noon, right? That's how you make gan, right? You have gimel, or gamo is 3. Right, and noon is what? 50. It was equal to 53, which equals to 8. Right? You look at this day. What is it? What is today? It's the last day, the great day of Chag Sukkah. It is the 8th day of the feast. Right. So when we start looking at the 8th day, or you look at the gan, you look at the garden itself. Right. What's the whole purpose? He told Adam, the day you shall eat of this tree, you shall surely move. You shall surely die. Double move, double death. Right, it's going to be a double death for you. Right? So when we start looking at this aspect, you look at fenced, right? But you look at the reward that it is, right? This is the last day, the 8th day. Right? So it all has a meaning. We're going to get there. So Leviticus 23, right? Yahweh 23, and it says, of course, through verse, I think it's verse 44. Yeah, it says, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the people of Israel, Yasharal, saying, on the 15th day of this 7th month, and for 7 days is the feast of booths to Yahuwah. On the first day shall be a Kedush convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. Of course, that ordinary work is malakah. For 7 days you shall present a food offering to Yahuwah. On the 8th day you shall hold a Kedush convocation and present a food offering to Yahuwah. So we just seen that the Gan, when you add it up, equals 8, right? But what did they have in the garden? Yeah, every herb building, they had plants. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that was a tree, the tree of life, and every plant with fruit for food and for the animals. Right? So we look and say, what food offering, right? How you gonna give a food offering? Right, but then you start looking at it in a sense, you're presenting something to him. Right? But this is what he called the 8th day. What they call the 8th day of, the last day of Chag Sukkah, right? So this is Ukanan 7, or John 7:14. And after this, Yahushua went to Galilee, and he would not go about in Judea, because the Yahudim were seeking to kill him. Oh, you mean Muth? Right? They were seeking to kill him. Muth, to be killed. It says, now the Yahudim feast of booths was at hand. So his brothers said to him, leave here and go to Judea, that the disciples also may see the works that you are doing. For no one works in secret if he seeks to be known openly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world. For not even his brothers believed in him. Yahushua said to them, my time is not yet come, but your time is always here. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify about it that its works are evil. Or Ra. How you say? I say that they're Ra. Isn't that amazing, right? It says, you go up to the feast, or to the feast of booths. I am not going up to this feast. Huh? What you mean he ain't going up to the feast, the Chag? Why you ain't going? It says, for my time is not yet fully come. After saying this, he remained in Galilee. But after his brothers had gone up to the Chag, then he also went up, not publicly, but in private. The Yahudim were looking at him. Here we go. Yeah. It says, the Yahudim were looking at him at the feast, saying, where is he? That there was much muttering about him among the people. While some said he's a good man, others said, no, he is leading people astray. Yet for fear of the Yahudim, no one spoke openly to him. Spoke openly of him, right? It says, about the middle of the feast, Yahushua went up in the temple, began teaching. So he put on disguise. He pretty much put on disguise. The Yahudim therefore marveled, saying, how is it that this man has learning when he has never studied? So Yahushua answered them, my teaching is not mine, but is his who sent me. If anyone's will is to do Yahuwah's will, he will know whether the teaching is from Yahuwah or whether I am speaking of my own authority. Right. He said, the they that trust in Yahuwah understand the truth. Right? That's how you're going to know. It says, the one who speaks of his own authority seeks his own glory or own kabod. But the one who seeks the kabod of him who sent him is true, and in him there is no falsehood. Has not Mashah given you the law, yet none of you keep the law? And why do you seek to kill me? The crowd answered, you have a demon. Who is seeking to kill you? Yahushua answered them, I did one work, and you all marveled at it. Mashah gave you circumcision, and not that it is from Mashah, but from the fathers. And you circumcise a man on the Shabbat. If on the Shabbat a man receives circumcision, so that the law of Mashah may not be broken, are you angry with me because on the Shabbat I made a man whole body well? Do not judge by the appearance, but judge with right judgment. So you see, he's at the Feast of Booths. He came privately, right? Not publicly. He was doing it in secret. He wasn't not showing himself to the world. He wasn't showing himself to nobody. But then he went into and started teaching, right? And they were saying all these things about him, about Yahushua Mashiach, right? So when we start looking at him going, he's saying, you seek to kill me, right? How are you keeping the feast if you're trying to kill somebody, right? But then we start looking at this, we look at it how it is. But yeah, this is the Yahudim Feast of Booths. It's the 8th, how you say, it's the 7-day feast, right? So then Yuchanan 7:37, he says, on the last day of the feast, so this is the great day, Yahushua stood up and cried out, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. He said, he that believeth on Yahushua stood and cried out, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. For whoever believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. Right, when we looked at the 8th day of the feast, and the word for Gan, it was the 8th. When we look at the garden, and then we look at what was in the garden, right? It had 4 rivers. Rivers, not river of living water. Rivers of living water will flow. He said it's on the last day, the great day of the feast, the 8th day. Right. Now this he said about the Ruach, whom those who believed in him were to receive. Why? For all who receive it gave you power to become the children of light. He says, for as yet the Ruach had not been given, because Yahushua was not yet glorified. Why? Because he hasn't moved yet. How you say moved? He hasn't died. Moved. But yet you see him on the 8th day declaring, he that believes on me, out of his belly shall flow rivers, just like the garden, the 4 rivers. And then you see that when we went to the word Gan, but you had the Gimel or the Gamma and the Noon, the reward of life, the reward of perpetual, continual life. He that believes on me, as the scripture said, rivers of living water. Right. So this is Bereshit 2:18. Then Yahuwah all said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Now out of the ground Yahuwah all formed every beast of the field and every bird of the Shamayim, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the Shamayim, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. So Yahuwah all caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and while he slept, took one of his ribs, and closed up its place with flesh. The rib that Yahuwah all Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and brought her to the man. Then the man said, this at last is bone of my bone, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of the man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked, and were not ashamed. Right. So this is the Aramaic Targum, Bereshit, Genesis, section 1. And Yahuwah all created from the earth every beast of the field and every fowl of the heavens, and brought them to Adam to see what name he would call it. And whatever Adam called the living animal, that was its name. And Adam called the names of all cattle and fowls of the Shamayim and all the beasts of the field But for Adam was not found as yet a helper before him, and for Adam was not found a yokefellow going forth with him. It says, and Yahuwah Elohim threw a deep slumber upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of the ribs, it was the 13th rib of the right side, and closed it up with the flesh. And all Yahuwah builded the rib which he had taken from Adam into a woman, and he brought her to Adam. And Adam said, this time, and not again, is a woman to be created from the man. Right? Thus, because she is created from me, she is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This is fit to call woman, because from man she was taken. Therefore a man shall leave and be separated from the house of the bed of his father and mother, and shall consociate with his wife, and both of them shall be one flesh. And both of them were wise. They were wise. Adam and his wife, but they were not faithful or truthful in their glory, kabod. Therefore a man shall leave the house of his bed and of his mother, bed of his father and his mother, blank. And they knew not what is shame. Because they had a blank. Right? So when we start looking at the way he made man, he made them wise. Right? He made Kawua in a certain way. He said, this will never happen like this. Right? A woman made from a man. Right? But then we start looking at how he made Adam. He made him upright. Made him equitable. Integrity. He even made the garden that way. The gun. Right? All the words of Yahuwah's mouth, there's nothing crooked or twisted in them. Right? So when we start looking at the way he made them, that's the way he made them. So Yahushua cried out and said, on the last day, the great day of Chag Sukkah, said, he that believeth on me, as the scripture said, out of his belly out of his heart shall flow rivers. Rivers. Just like the garden. Right? So the word for deep sleep is Tademah. He calls a deep sleep, a trance, a sound sleep to fall upon Adam. Right. Lethargy, right? A trance. So the word for rib is Selah. It means side, rib, beam. A beam of a building, a house, of a man, a rib, of a hill, a ridge, just like a mountain. You have a mountain and you have the hills, right? A hillside. Hillside is a part of a mountain range, right? A ridge, a side chamber, or cells. Cells are a part of a body, which probably they added that because you start looking at human body, right? Plank, board, cedar, firs, leaves, right? Door, hence, sky, right? Like when we start looking at this, it says object or the sky. It also means as well. It also means ceiling, floor, plank, single. It's a part of something. Being a part of a body, a part of an arc, a part of a mountain ridge. Salah, rib, a mountain. See, amazingly, on the first day, we talked about how the mountain's going to break out into singing. The hills, and the trees, and the branches are going to clap their hands. Right? So here, that's word for rib. The word for one, of course, we know one is Akkad. They shall be one flesh. One flesh. One flesh. So the word for one flesh is Akkad. Or one is Akkad. It means one. Each and every, certain. Because being one is multiple. Only one, it says one once for all, right? The one, right? The other, one after another, one by one, first, right? First, right? So when we start looking at oneness, united, that is one, alike, alone. It says all together, a piece, right? It says each one plus 11, all these plus high. So when we start looking at adding or additions, right? When you add something to you, it should be one, right? A card. So when we look at a card, because we went through this before, but a card, what? You have the aleph, the kaf, and the daleth, right? Aleph is 1, the kaf is 8, right? And daleth is 4, which equals to 13, right? When you add both 3 and 1, it equals to 4, and it equals to 2, right? So when we start looking at a card, or the two shall be one flesh, the two shall be a card, two shall be, how you say, like 13. Amazing, it was reading, it said that the woman was made from the 13th rib, right? When you look at Adam as, how you say, the express image of his person, but then we start looking at it in a sense of how it is, right? But yeah, a cod, right? Keep all that in mind, because all that's going to have meaning, right? So the word for, when he says out of man, right, or man in general, the word is ish, right? It says man, male, or in contrast to woman, it says husband, human being, a person, right? A servant, mankind, a champion, a great man. You know, it's how Adam be fruitful, multiply, and be great, right? It told us to be great. And it says a great man, whoever, right? And it says a male person. Of course, you know, champion, right? Also means, because, you know, husband, mighty, steward, right? Means, multiple means, but you start looking at man, mankind, male, human being, champion, a servant, a great man, right? For ish. So the word for woman is isha, right? In that Bereshit chapter 2, right? So when we start looking at it, the word for isha is woman, wife, female. Woman married to be to a man, female, right? Animals, it says of animals each, right? It also means woman, right? Together, wife, right? So when we look at ish and isha, right? He took the rib from the ish and made an isha, right? When we start looking at, he caused these sleep to fall upon Adam. And he took from the ish and made an isha, right? So you look at ish, or ish, right? You got the aleph, the yad, and the shin, and then you have the isha, you have the aleph, the shin, and the head. So when you remove the aleph and the shin from both names, so you move it from isha, and then you move it, the aleph and the shin, from ish, you get the yad and the hay. You get the yad and the hay. I put, it's in black, right? So when you remove the aleph, right? So you remove the aleph and the shin, you have the yad and the hay left over, which in turn you have yah, right? So when you add up the yad and the hay, or the Ha, you get what? You get 15, which equals to 6, right? So when we start looking at this aspect, right, when you start adding up Yah's name, we start looking at it, right, in a sense of what it is, right? Because that's just half his name. Half of Yahuwah is 6, right? But then we start looking at on the level that it needs to be looked at. You look at the Ish and Isha, and you take out the Aleph and the Shin, because once you take these out, then you see Yah. Right. But he's in the name of the two becoming one. Right. But in order for that to happen, two has to become one. But yeah, just keep moving forward. So when you start looking at nature itself, and you're looking at man's wisdom, right? Being that you start looking at nature in a sense. He said, let us make Adam, or in our image and our likeness. He made him upright, integrity. He made him, it was straightforward. He made him with no perverseness, no crookedness. Because that's every word of his mouth. That's how it is. He made him good and very good, a model and shape of his express image, fashioned him, and he accomplished it. He said, be great, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth. So when we start looking at leaves of the trees, that every herb-yielding seed who bears fruit is for food. When we start looking at herbs and trees and leaves and green foliage, you see the very veins in the actual plants. You see the very veins in the human heart. Right? He said, out of his heart shall flow rivers of living water. Rivers of living water. On the 8th day, when we added up the garden, right? And you see how it equals what to 53, which equals to 8. It, mean the noon and the gimel, the reward of life, the continual reward of life to do good, right? So when you start looking at the rivers, they use the Amazon right here, but then you start looking at the rivers and the Amazon, out of his heart shall flow rivers of living water, right? So then you start looking at the tree of life, what they call a tree. He said, he that believeth on me, as the scripture said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. And David and Dawood said in Psalms 1, he said, Barak is the man in Ish who walketh not in the counsel of the unrighteous, nor sit in the seat, get in the way of the scornful. He's the light is in the Torah, in the law, and it that he made to meditate day and night. And he should be like a tree planted by rivers of living water. So when we look at the tree, we look at our body, we look at a placenta that one lives inside of, right? You look at your lungs, right? Even your lungs look like a tree branch, right? You look at a branch, right? Remember Yeshayahu, in the first day, we talked about the hillside and the branches going to clap for joy. They're going to start clapping their hands, right? Look at your lungs, your whole body. He said, let everything that have breath praise Yahuwah, right? Where do your lungs come from? Your lungs and your body have what? Branches. They look like tree branches. Let everything that have breath. Let the branches, let your breath, your what you say, let your words, let the breath. Like he breathed in man's nostrils, and man became a what? A living being. All the words of his mouth were straightforward, upright, integrity. He said, everything have breath, praise you. And you look at your fingerprints. Like when you cut a tree, and you see the imprints on the tree. When you cut it, like I had to cut some trees the other day. You cut it and you see what? The imprint of the tree. It looks just like a fingerprint. He said, you'll be like a tree, planted by like a tree. Yeah, you literally dwell inside of this type of body. This is the body that the gods and the goddesses and those who receive the word, he gave you power to become the children of light, dwelling inside of a human body. This is the type of body you live in. Right? Understanding who one is. Right? So when we're looking at all these aspects, so you look at a placenta, right? Of course, placenta, when you look at it, right? You look at it as a what? It's like a tree. Right? Right? You look at, they use the illustration here, umbilical cord. Now, this is man's wisdom, right? You look at they call it the tree of life, but you start looking at it in a sense, right? Umbilical cord that connects to the unborn baby. Right? You look at a baby, a child, male child, female child, male animal, female. You start looking at these aspects. Your connection, he says what? The garden, the gan. We start looking at our connection. Right? And also, unborn baby, a placenta, right? It's called the silver cord, or the body with our ruach, right? Or spirit. And they talked about when the umbilical cord is cut, we are born into this world. Why? Because you're no longer depending on a person to help you breathe. You're now breathing on your own. And that's the problem when you start looking at us losing our connection. When you start trying to breathe on your own, how you say, your own imaginations, your own breath, you start following your own words, your own thoughts, your own imaginations, your own inventions, right? When you cut away, you start trying to breathe on your own. He said he breathed into man's nostrils. He said it became a living soul. Guess what he says? Man should not live by bread alone, but by every word or every breath that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah, right? So if you are still connected, then guess what happens? You don't live by your own imaginations. So when we start looking at this, we start looking at it the way it is, right? So when you look at lightning, even lightning itself looks like your lungs, like a branch with leaves in a tree. We look at that even as a culmination of one's nature, right? Or one's unseen nature, right? When we start looking at ourselves and who we are, and he gave us the understanding of who we are and how he made man from the beginning, his plan never changed. It never changed. So this is Mashali 3:1, or Proverbs 3:1. It says, "My son, do not forget my teachings, and let your heart keep my commandments." When he put Adam in the garden, he says to keep its commandments, and he put him in the garden to keep the commandments that was in the garden of every herb yielding, every tree. You may eat freely, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil, or to distinguish between good and evil, you should not eat. For the day you eat of it, you shall move. You shall die, double die, right? Move, surely die. He said, "Do not forget my teachings, and let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years and peace shall be added to you." Do you want length of days and shalom and years added to your life? Or do you want to move? Right? And it says, "Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you." Isn't that why he said faithfulness and love? That's how wisdom was attained. He said, don't forsake love and faithfulness. Don't let it forsake you. It says, "Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tables of your heart or your mind. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of Yahuwah and man." Right? In the sight of Yahuwah, you'll be what? Thriving inwardly, and outwardly, your model and fashion and how you are, and your riches and your prosperity and things that people that man sees, you'll start. He said you'll have good success. He says, "Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart." Guess what he says? Every person who trusts in Yahuwah will understand the truth. He said, "With all your heart, and do not lean to your own understanding." You mean your own breath. Why? Because if you lean to your own understanding, you leave the connection that one has with the one who sustains them and gives them life and long life and length of days. But you have to stay connected. Why? And it says, "In all your ways acknowledge him." Acknowledge. You know how fathers and mothers, they want to be acknowledged as the father and the mother. That's my child. That ain't my father. That ain't my mother. How you think the parents would feel if your son and your daughter did that to you. Right? He said, all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Here you go, your own understanding, your own eyes, right? Your own imaginations. It says, fear Yahuwah. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. He said, all who practice it have good understanding. He said, the fear of Yahuwah is wisdom, and understanding is depart from evil. It says, and turn away from evil. That's understanding. There's a reason why. It will be healing to your navel. To your what? To your navel. And refreshment to your bones. So that word for navel, they put flesh, right? They say it'll be healing to your flesh. But that word is actually shore. Or shar, right? So the word is umbilical cord. It'd be healing to your umbilical cord, your navel string. So if one is still attached to an umbilical cord, a navel string, why would you cut it? Or you mean those who forsake Yahuwah, who despise wisdom and nurture, who how you say, despise the righteousness and wisdom and nurture. He said they are miserable. He said, do not lean to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths, right? But then it says what? It'll be healing to your umbilical cord. So if you cut it, if you cut your connection, you cut your umbilical cord, what happens? Then you start leaning to your own, how you say, life. That's what sustains you. My own life, my own imaginations, my own thoughts, my own inventions, the things that I create in my own mind. He said, now you're leaning to your own understanding. And then you cut your umbilical cord. He said, it'll be healing to your umbilical cord. He said, trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct you. It'll be healing to your flesh, your navel. So Matthew 18:2. And calling him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, surely I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the Malkuth of Shamayim. You won't be entering that, right? Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of Shamayim. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it will be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. Right, so when we start looking at what? Causing someone to sin. Why would somebody cause someone to sin? Because every imagination and thought is only evil continually. That's the only reason you will want somebody that believes in Yahuwah to sin. What do you say? Evil plots. So this is Mark 9:36. It says, and he took a child and put him in the midst of them, and taking him in his arms, he said to them, whoever receives one such child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me. Right? So when we start looking at that, he said, you receive one such child, you receive me. Well, that child is just like me. And guess what? Whoever receives me receives him who sent me. So who's he talking about? If you're a child and you connected to the umbilical cord, your connection, guess what happened? He said, you just like me. And you receive him, you receive me. This is Mark 10:13. It says, and they were bringing children to him that he might touch them. And his disciples rebuked them. But Yahushua saw it and was indignant and said to them, let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for such belongs the kingdom, the Malkuth of Yahuwah. Truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of Yahuwah like a child shall not enter it. And he took them in his arms and barakah them, laying his hands on them. So we start looking at our nature, male child, female child, in the garden, the eighth day, the eighth, right? Understanding, he that believeth on me, as the scripture said, he said this on the last great day, the eighth day of the feast. He stood and said this, understanding what he's trying to do, understanding that he's trying to, he said, out of your heart shall flow rivers. These is all in the garden. So this is the Aramaic Palestinian Targum. It says, and Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and all imagery and thought of his heart was only evil every day. He said the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning. He said understanding is to depart from evil. He said, lean not to your own understanding. He said, depart from evil in Proverbs, especially chapter 3. He said, be healing to your umbilical cord. You child, you infant, you unborn baby. He said, how you know? He said, because the child on the inside that we have, he said, has not, how you say, been born yet. How you say, when it's not born, it does not yet appear what we shall be yet. He said, it'll be healing to your shore, your umbilical cord. Because you got to feed that child on the inside. Because if you don't feed that child on the inside, something's going to happen. The same way a woman is in travail and is pregnant, has a child on the inside, and they got to watch what they eat. That's the same way you look at that child on the inside of you, that you got to watch what you put in your body, or something's going to happen to the child. And it says, and he said, and it repented Yahuwah in his word that he had made man upon the earth, and he passed judgment upon them by his word. And there was repentance before Yahuwah in his word that he had made man upon the earth. And he said and judged in his heart, in his mind. Now we talked about this. It repented him in his mind that he made man, because every imagery and thought of his heart is evil every day. Every single day. He says, and Yahuwah said, I will abolish by my word whom I created upon the face of the earth, from man to cattle to reptile to fowls of Shamayim, because I have repented in my word that I have made them. But Nuach found favor before Yahuwah. So even Yahuwah repents by his word, like, man. And then people say, how should I repent? By the word. So Bereshit 6:5, it says, Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and every intention and thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. That's all he's doing, evil. Continually. And Yahuwah regretted that he had made man on the earth. He made him upright. All the words of his mouth were equitable, upright, integrity, straightforward. There was nothing crooked or perverse in it. He's like, and Yahuwah regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So Yahuwah said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds and of the heavens. For I am sorry that I have made them. But Nuach found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. Right? So when we start looking at this, he said, turn away from evil. Which means every thought and imagination is evil every day. He said, turn away from evil. He said, the fear of Yahuwah is understanding, is wisdom. And to turn away from evil is understanding. It's understanding to turn away from evil. And every imagination and thought is evil. Right? So the word for, of course, man's heart is inner man, his inner man. But we looked at the lungs, we looked at the heart, we looked at the branches. It says his inner man. He says his lave, his mind, his will, his heart, his understanding. That what? Fear Yahuwah will understand the truth. Their understanding is evil. Their heart is evil. Right? Inner man is evil. The soul and the heart, the mind is evil. Knowledge, thinking, reflection, and memories are evil. Their inclinations, how they resolve things, resolutions are evil. The determination and will is to do evil. Their conscience is to do evil. Their appetites, emotions, and passions, and courage is to do evil. Right, so when you start thinking about despising wisdom and nurture, wisdom and nurture is what's essential. That's what you nurture, you feed with. Right? Now imagine all these things going in, like you had a child on the inside, right? Naturally. Imagine you feeding your child that. Right? You say, what do you mean? So the word for thought is evil. Every thought was evil, is makashaba. So every thought, device, plan, purpose, and invention is evil. So every thought of the inward man, the mind, the lave, all these things were evil. And we know the lave, the mind, is what? The teacher of the body, Lamed and Bith, the teacher of the house, the teacher of the body, the temple. He said every thought and imagination and invention and plan and plot was evil. Plots were evil. So the word for evil is ra. Every thought and imagination was bad. Right? You think about makashaba, right? For thought. Every makashaba was ra. Bad, evil, disagreeable, malignant, bad, unpleasant, evil, pain, unhappiness, misery. They that despise wisdom and nurture is miserable. Every thought. He said, the fear of Yahuwah is understand the truth, right? They said what? Evil. He said, turn away from evil is understanding. Misery, turn away from misery. Turn away from this, turn away from it. He says, bad, worse, wicked. Every imagination and thought and deeds. He said he put Ruach and do good deeds. He said love not in word but in deeds. He said every deed is to do evil. Injury. So people talk about mental health and they talk about mental inventory. Right? So moving on is Bereshit 6:1. Now the earth was corrupt in Yahuwah's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And Yahuwah saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh hath corrupted their way on the earth. Right. So when we start looking at it, this is after he saw that every imagination, he saw that the earth was corrupt. Right. Everything was filled with violence. That word for violence is kamas. It means violence, wrong, cruelty, injustice. Remember we talked about Job. Remove injustice from your tent. Yeah, this is Sukkah, Chag Sukkah. Remove injustice from your tent. He said that's violence. He said cruelty, oppressor, unrighteous, violent, dealing wrong, unjust gain. Saying something cotton, but when it will say something linen, but it's really cotton. Right? Saying things are one way, but it's not. Unjust gain, wrong, damage, malicious. So this is Ezekiel Yakaziel 8:5-18. Then he said to me, Son of man, lift up your eyes now toward the north. So I lifted up my eyes toward the north, and behold, north of the altar gate, in the entrance, was this image of jealousy. And he said to me, Son of Adam, do you see what they are doing? The great abominations that the house of Yasharal are committing here, to drive me far away from my sanctuary? But you will see still greater abominations. And he brought me to the entrance of the court. And when I looked, behold, there was a hole in the wall. And then he said to me, Son of Adam, son of man, dig through in the wall. So I dug in the wall, and behold, there was an entrance. And he said to me, Go in and see the vile abominations that they are committing here. So I went in and saw, and there engraved on the wall all around was every form of creeping things and loathsome beasts and all idols of the house of Yasharal. And before them stood 70 men of the elders of the house of Yasharal, with Yahanzan Yah and the son of Shaphan standing among them. Each had his censer in his hand, and the smoke of the clouds of the incense went up. It says, Then he said to me, Son of Adam, have you seen that the elders of the house of Yasharal, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of the house of Yasharal are doing in the dark? In the dark. Each in his room of pictures? Oh, you mean every imagination and imagery of man was only evil continually. I'm grieved that I made man on the earth. I regret that I even have made them. For they say Yahuwah does not see us. Yahuwah has forsaken the land. And Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man's heart was only evil continually. Yahuwah see everything. He saw them then. He saw them in the beginning, and he see them now. He said, he see you now. And he said also to me, you will see greater abominations than they commit. Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of Yahuwah, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then he said to me, have you seen this, O son of man, Adam? You will see still greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the house of Yahuwah, and behold, the entrance of the temple of Yahuwah, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs to the temple of Yahuwah, and their faces toward the east, worshiping the sun toward the east. Notice how they worship and use his creation. They worship in the sun. In the east, they worship in Tammuz, a god, an idol, right? They worship in the animals, right? Creeping things and loathsome beasts. Burning incense to these things. To his creation. It says, then he said to me, have you seen this, O son of Adam, son of man? It is too light a thing for the house of Yehudah to commit the abominations that they commit here, that they should fill the land with violence. Oh, you mean Kamas, just like it was in the beginning. Dealing wrong, unjust gain, cruelty, killing animals, sacrificing them, destroying my creation, worshiping it. It's the same thing. He said that word for violence is kamas, the same word that was in the beginning. That's why he was looking at man. Every thought and imagination of man's heart was only evil continually. But I made man upright. I made man Adam. I made him by the word. All the words in my mouth are straightforward, integrity, upright. Guess what he says? He said, the whole land is filled with violence and provoke me still further to anger. Or you mean off? How he made man in his own image? Wrath. That's why he provoked him to anger in the beginning. He said the whole earth is full of violence. He said, I regret that I made man. I'm going to destroy man from the earth. Because they are Every imagination and thought was only evil continually. He said, I'm going to do that. And that's what you see today. He said, provoke me still further anger. Behold, guess what he says? Behold, they put the branch to their nose. Keep that in mind. They put the branch to their nose. Therefore, I will act in wrath. My eye will not spare. I'm going to destroy man from the earth, just like he did in the beginning. Because he said, you don't forsook the right and you don't forsook Yahuwah. You don't even worship me no more. You worshiping other things that I made. You burning incense and you full of cruelty and violence and unjust gain. Nor will I have pity. He won't have no pity. It says, and though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, I will not hear them. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So this is the book of Yashar, 1924. It says, at that time the wife of Lot bare him a daughter, and he called her name Pathith, saying, because Yahuwah has delivered him and his whole household from the king of Elam. And Pathith, the daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a wife. And a poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance, and he remained in the city some days. And all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth, and they did so. And Pathith, the daughter of Lot, saw this man lying in the streets, starved with hunger, and no one would give him anything to keep him alive, and he was just upon the point of death. And her soul was filled with pity. Unlike Yahuwah said in Ezekiel, he said, my soul will not pity. He said her soul was filled with pity on the account of the man. And she fed him secretly with bread for many days. And the soul of this man was revived. And amazingly, these are the same things that you saw the Malachi who did to Hagar when she was at a point of death. And her son was under a tree and she was getting ready to die. And he saw her and he showed her, he opened her eyes and showed her the well. And she gave her son some drink and he was revived. And it says, for when she went forth to fetch water, verse 28, she would put the bread in the water pitcher. And when she came to the place where the poor man was, she took bread from the pitcher and gave it to him to eat. So she did many days. Same thing you see with Rakal when she gave water to Eleazar at the well. He said, I'm going to give you water and the camels also. Same thing with Mashah when he drove away the shepherds and he helped the women and he gave them water and the animals also. Same thing with Yahusha when he had the cat. When he saw the cat weeping and he picked it up, holding it in the bosom, and he gave it something to drink and took care of it, and he gave it to one of his disciples. You mean like this woman right here? So here we go. For no man can bear, guess what it says? And guess what it says? It says, and all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, verse 29, wondered how this man could bear starvation for many days. And they said to each other, this can only be that he eats and drinks. For no man can bear starvation for many days as this man has, without even his countenance changing. And 3 men concealed themselves in a place where the poor man was stationed, to know who it was that brought him bread to eat. And Pathith, daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water, and she put bread into her pitcher of water, and she went to draw water by the poor man's place. And she took out of the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the poor man, and he ate. And the 3 men saw that Pathith saw what the Pathith did to the poor man. And they said to her, it is thou than who has supported him. And therefore has he not starved, nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest. So this ain't the first time they did it. And the three men went out of the place in which they were concealed, and they seized Patith and the bread which was in the poor man's hand. And they took Patith and brought her before the judges, and they said to them, thus did she do. It says, and it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die all this time? Now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law. He said transgress our law. You mean trust in Yahuwah, lean not to your own imaginations. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths, right? He said, turn away from evil. He said, they that trust in Yahuwah will understand the truth. He said, those who despise Yahuwah and wisdom and nurture will be miserable. But then you start looking at, you see miserable people, and you see them causing misery on poor people, people trying to help people. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Right, here we go. Verse 35, and it says, and the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the street of the city. And they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. In the city of Admah, there was a woman whom they did the like. For a traveler came into the city of Admah to abide there all night. Right, so they burnt this woman, right? You see this? And it says, for a traveler came into the city of Admah to abide there all night, with the intention of going home in the morning. And he sat opposite the door of the house of the young woman's father, to remain there as the sun and set, as the sun had set. When he had reached that place, the young woman saw him sitting by the doors of the house, and he asked her for a drink, for water, and she said to him, who art thou? And he said to her, I was this day going on the road, and reached here when the sun set. So I will abide here all night, and in the morning I will arise early and continue my journey. And a young woman went into her house and fetched the man bread and water to eat and drink. Sound familiar? Like Abraham when he went to go see the woman, Ishmael's wife, he told her to put away the other tent peg, and he went and she came out and gave him water and bread too. A servant, right? But let's see what happened. And this affair became known to the people of Admah, and they assembled and brought the young woman before the judges, that they should judge her for this act, for helping someone. Just for helping. And the judges said, the judgment of death must pass upon this woman because she transgressed our law. Notice that. Our law. Sound like some people I know, right? But here we go. And this, therefore, is the decision concerning her. What do you mean decision? Or you mean muth, to be put to death, to be killed, right? Just like the other woman got burned for helping the poor man. Let's see what this does. And the people of those cities assembled and brought out the young woman and anointed her with honey from head to foot, as the judge had decreed. And they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were then in their hives. And the bees flew upon her and stung her, that her whole body was swelled. And you look at this person, right? You remember that woman came with an alabaster box and anointed Yahushua? They anointed her with honey. And they brought her to her death. Because even Yahushua said, she did this for my burial. And guess what? They brought her to a bunch of bees, and they stung her, and her whole body swelled. A woman. And the young woman cried out on the account of the bees. She what? She cried out on the account of the bees. But no one took notice of her or pitied her. You see, the woman that they burned, she pitied the poor man. But then you see these people, they don't even pity her. It says, and her cries ascended to Shamayim. And Yahuwah was provoked at this. He was what? Provoked to anger. And all the works of the city of Sodom, for they had abundance of food and had tranquility amongst them. Oh, you mean not a famine of hearing the word, but it's not going to be a famine of eating and drinking and food. There's going to be a famine of hearing the word. You know, wisdom and nurture, turning away from evil, understanding the truth, wisdom and understanding and knowledge. They're not going to understand it. They had abundance of food and had tranquility amongst them. They had peace, like you see today, peace and shalom. They had abundance of food, but when it came to helping people and poor people and things that people don't have, and people that help, they kill you. It says, and still would not sustain, guess what he says? And they still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days, their evil doings and sins, their evil doings and sins became great before Yahuwah. Oh, you mean, I'm grieved that I even made man on the earth. I'm grieved. Man, you know what, Ezekiel, I'm not even going to pity them when I destroy them. They worshiping my creation. They got the whole place full of violence, just like it was in the beginning. You see this? The whole place is full of cruelty and violence. You see what they're doing? Poor person, they kill him. They burn him on the stake. They burn him for helping a poor man, getting bread and water. All the things that Yahushua commanded everyone to do. You see a woman getting put honeybees on her, and she gets stung, and her cry went all the way to the highest Shamayim, and he heard it. And Yahuwah sent for 2 of his Malachim that had come to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. So Yahuwah already had people on earth to do it. So you look at this. Look at this world. You look at what's going on. But you see all these evil plots, every imagination and thought, plot, purpose, emotion is evil continually. Same thing you saw in Ezekiel, same thing you saw in the beginning. And right here. This is Bereshith, or 45:1. Then Yusuf could not control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, make everyone go home from me. So no one stayed with him when Yusuf made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Yusuf said to his brothers, I am Yusuf, Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. So Bereshith 50 and 15. When Yusuf's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, it may be that Yusuf will hate us and pay us back for the evil that we did to him. Right? Why wouldn't he? He said, vengeance is mine, I'll repay. That's what Yahuwah said. Repay no man evil for evil, but overcome evil with good. Let's see. So they sent a message to Yusuf saying, your father gave this command before he died. Say to Yusuf, please forgive the transgressions of your brothers and their sins because they did evil to you. And now, you see, in that statement they just made right here, if you understand the rest of the story, his father never said that. They either made that up because they were thinking that he was going to repay them evil. So they already thinking he was going to repay them evil. So they had created this story in their own mind. They created their own story in their own mind. Right? And now, he says, and now please forgive the transgressions of your servant Yahuwah, your servant, he says, well, it says, and now please forgive the transgressions of the servants of Yahuwah, of your father, of your father. And Yusuf wept when they spoke to him, his brothers. Well, Yusuf wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, behold, we are your servants. But Yusuf said to them, do not fear, for I am in the place of Yahuwah. As for you, you meant evil against me, but Yahuwah meant it for good, to bring about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear, I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Right? So you see how he spoke kindly to them, but then you start looking at these stories, right? Because remember, they had an evil plot. Every imagination and thought was evil contending when he had his dreams. And they threw him in a pit. That was the evil plot. Every evil and a purpose was only evil continually in that situation. And guess what? He cried out and revealed himself to his brothers, right? Just like the woman cried out and she revealed to Yahuwah the wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah. So this is Psalm 69:6. It says, let not those who hope in you be put to shame through me. Yahuwah, all of hosts, let not those who seek you be brought to dishonor through me, O all of Yasharal, for it is for your sake that I have borne reproach. That dishonor has covered my face. I have become a stranger to my brothers. It sounds just like Yusuf. I have borne the reproach that dishonor has covered my face. I have become a stranger to my brothers and a stranger to my mother's sons. For the zeal of your house has consumed me, and reproaches of those who reproach you have fallen on me. As for you, you thought evil against me, but Yahuwah rendered it for my good to save much people alive, as it is this day. It's all fallen on me. But then when you start looking at this story, the reproaches and then the reproach it fell on him. But then you look at Ezekiel's story, right? You will say, I'm not going to pity them. I'm not even going to hear them when they cry. He also said, they're going to put a branch to their nose. He said, every imagination and thought was only evil. They anointed that woman with bees, bee honey, and they let them bees sting her. They killed a poor woman who had pity on a poor man and gave him bread and water. Guess what it says? When I wept and humbled my soul with fasting, it became my reproach. When I made sackcloth my clothing, I became a byword to them. I am the talk of those who sit at the gate. Just now, at the feast and all these things that people go to. Man, you're the talk of the gate. Everybody talking about you. Let me guess, it ain't good. He said, and drunkards make songs about me. It ain't good songs. But as for me, my prayer is to you. O Yahuwah, at an acceptable time, O all, in the abundance of your steadfast love, answer me in your saving faithfulness. Deliver me from sinking in the mirror. Let them be delivered from my enemies and from the deep waters. Let not the flood sweep over me, or the deep swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me. Answer me, O Yahuwah, for your steadfast love is good. According to your abundant mercy, turn to me. Hide not your face from your servant, for I am in distress. Make haste to answer me. Draw near to my soul, redeem me, ransom me because of my enemies. You know my reproach, and my shame and my dishonor. My foes are all known to you. These reproaches have broken my heart. It broke my stony heart. So that I am in despair. I look for pity, I looked for pity, but there was none, Sodom and Gomorrah. He said, Yahuwah even said in Ezekiel he wasn't going to pity him. Pity the people. I'm not even going to pity them. Even in Bereshit, he said, I'm grieved that I made man on the earth. I'm grieved. And for comforters, but I found none. They gave me poison for my food. And for my thirst, they gave me sour wine. Oh, they didn't give me no bread and water like that poor woman, that woman who pitied the poor. Right? They didn't give me no bread and water like that other woman they put bees and honey on. They killed those women. So it's Psalms 22 and 14. Tahalim. He said, I am poured out like water. All my bones are out of joint. You mean bones of bone, flesh of my flesh? You ever had bones out of joint? My whole body is out of joint. My heart is like wax and is melted within my breast. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. I'm thirsty as heck. I'm thirsty. He said, you lay me in the dust of the death, for dogs compass me. A company of evildoers encircle me, or like the woman with the bee honey on her. And they stuck the bee stinger. When they got the poor woman, they burned her alive because she gave to the poor man. He said, evildoers, you mean every imagination and thought is on the evil continually. So you think about it. If every imagination and thought is on the evil thing, as in Bereshit, as in Ezekiel, as in the book of Yashar, so that means he's saying evildoers encircle me. So that means all those people like Sodom and Gomorrah. All those people are like Sodom and Gomorrah, including Yehuda and Yasharal. Says, they have pierced my hands and my feet with nails. I can count all my bones, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Right? Remember we talked about bone, they talked about a rib, a beam, a hillside. It's a part of a body. A body has many parts. He said, all my bones that's a part of my body, they stare at me. He said, they gloat over me. They divide my garments among them. And for my clothing they cast lots. But you, Yahuwah, do not be far off. O you, my help, come quickly, my aid. He was supposed to have an aid and a helper, but then you see somebody didn't help him. He's looking for somebody to pity him. Deliver my soul from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dog, from the Goyim, the nations. Save my life from the lion, from Yehuda. You have rescued me from the horns of the wild oxen, from Yasharal. An ox knows his owner, and his donkey is master crib, but Yasharal don't consider. He always compared them to an ox. So this is Bereshit 2 and 6. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was delight to the eyes, that the tree desired to make one wise, she was already wise. Or you mean be more wiser? It says she took of its fruit and ate, and she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. They gave him poison for his food. Right? So when we look at him giving poison for his food, and we talking about offering Yahuwah a food offering. And he was doing it at the last day, the great day of the feast, Chag Sukkah. It's the last day. He said in the last day, Yahushua cried out. He said, if any man believes, who that believes on me, as the scripture said, as it's written, out of his belly shall flow rivers. Or you mean like the garden, like the gun? Or you mean 8, the last day, the great day of the feast? He said, out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. But see here, now you see Adam and them become a hypocrite. Like they said, they what? They didn't remain in their glory, in their kabod, in faithfulness, in love. Why? Because they already ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or give them ability to discern between good and evil, distinguish between. They were children. They were too young to even know that. Well, they were still attached to the umbilical cord. They were too young. But here we go. Yochanan 19:28. And after this, Yahushua, knowing that all was now finished, said to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar full of sour wine stood there, and they put a sponge full of sour wine on a hyssop branch and held it to his mouth. When Yahushua had received the sour wine, he said, it is finished, and bowed his head and gave up the ruach. They gave me poison for my food. They gave me sour wine. As a matter of fact, when you look at this thing, what did he say in Ezekiel chapter 8 that he was going to put to their nose? Oh, a branch. He said he was going to put a branch to their nose. He said he's going to put a branch to their nose. And he said nobody's going to pity him either. He said, I'm not going to pity him when they cry out. Let's see. This is Matthew 27:45. This is in Ezekiel, Yakazion. Now from the 6th hour, there was darkness over the land to the 9th hour. Then he said, don't you see what the elders are doing in the dark? They burning incense to oxen and creeping things. Don't you see what they're doing in the dark? Yahuwah said, Yahuwah don't see. He said, every imagination and thought is on the evil continually. Guess what he said right here? And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried out with a loud voice, saying, Aliyah, Aliyah, lama sabachthani, my all, why hast thou forsaken me? Oh, you mean when he cried out? Like he said in Ezekiel, he said, I ain't pity. When that woman cried out with the honeybees on her body, and then she cried out, those people didn't even pity her. She was looking for something to pity her, and she found none. The same thing Yahushua in the book of Psalms, he said he was looking for somebody to pity. My aid, come and help me. Nobody was there. It says, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, this man calleth for Eliyahu. Or you mean like this people in Sodom and Gomorrah? Just looking on while somebody up there suffering. Let's see what happened. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge filled with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink. But the other said, wait, let's see if Eliyahu will come and save him. Let him suffer some more. Let her suffer some more. Let burn her at the stake, because she pitied the poor. Gave something to a traveling man. Gave bread and water. Let's put honey on her and anoint her with honey and send her to her death and let the bees sting her and let her swell. You can see what happened. But the other said, wait, let's see whether Eliyahu come to save him. And Yahushua cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his ruach. Why did he cry out again? Remember, it said, you shall surely die. You had muth. He said, the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. He just did right here. He gave him poison for his food. He gave him sour wine for his thirst. Muth. And he did it when? At the 9th hour. When you added up muth, you get 9. And amazingly, when you add up, he said he took from the rib of a man. He made Isha and the Ish. Remember, you take away the aleph and the shin, and what do you get? Yah, which equals the 6, from the 6th to the 9th hour. Or 69. From the 6th to the 9th hour, he cried out with a loud voice. At the 9th hour, he gave up the ruach. Oh, you mean he cried out like Yusuf and revealing to his brothers who he was? I am Yusuf. Or you mean like the woman that cried out when they put the honeybees in, they cried and went all the way to the highest Shamayim, and it made Yahuwah burn his anger. So being that she done cried out already, or he cried out, how come Yahuwah hasn't destroyed the earth? Because as soon as they cried out in Sodom and Gomorrah, he sent Malachi to come destroy the place. How come he ain't destroyed the place yet? Yahushua already done cried out already. He should have been already done did it already. Oh, he's long-suffering. He's showing mercy, even though every imagination and thought is only evil continually in the world. He said, I'm grieved that I made man on the earth. I'm grieved that I even told him to be great. I'm grieved that I even told him to multiply and be fruitful. So when we start looking at these aspects, we start looking at Yahushua Mashiach, but then we start looking at every imagination and thought is only evil continually. And he said, man, I'm not even going to pity him. I'm not even going to pity them when they cry out. That's why he cried out. Why do you think he cried, Ali, Ali, lama sabachthani? Because he didn't even pity. Yahuwah said, they're going to cry to me. I'm not going to pity him. Yahushua died for that in Ezekiel chapter 8. He died for those in the same fashion as that woman who got the honeybees put on her. The same fashion that woman got put in the midst of the plate and they burned her alive. Right. So when we look at these aspects, you see what he did. Right. And then you see at the 9th hour, that's the same thing for Adam, the hypocrite. The hypocrite. Let us make man in our own image and our own likeness. So this is 2 Corinthians 11:1. Would to Yahuwah ye could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me, for I am jealous of you with a Elohim jealousy. What would the Elohim say? What is man that you are mindful of him? You made him a little Lord and a Malachim. You crown him with kabod. He said, I'm jealous of you like they are. He said, I'm jealous of you just like them. With a godly like jealousy, like the Elohims. He said, I'm jealous of you just like them. For I espouse you to one husband, that I may present you a chaste virgin to Mashiach. But I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Ka'ur through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Mashiach. Why? Because Satan's always trying to introduce, how you say, a new word. I got a word for you. And people's like, what do you mean by that? Because that's all he wanted you to do. He doesn't leave the garden. He don't want you to, how you say, return back or to have that mind again. Because then you'll be, how you say, be great again. You'll be fruitful. You will fill the earth. You'll be in Yahuwah's model, fashion, and image. You won't despise wisdom and nurture. Your umbilical cord will be healed. Your love and compassion will be healed. All the things that every imagination and thought won't be evil anymore. So this is Qahalath 7:25, or Ecclesiastes. It said, I turned my heart to know and to search out and to seek wisdom and the schemes of things, and to know the wickedness of the folly of the foolishness, and that is madness. And I found something more bitter than death. And it says, the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and whose hands are fetters. He who pleases Yahuwah escapes from her, but a sinner is taken by her. Why would he say that? Because he took all those strange wives and worshiped other gods. All those wives, he built a god to every single one. He just like those people in Ezekiel, Yakaziah. He just like them. He said, behold, this is what I found, says the preacher, while adding one thing to another, to find out the schemes of things. Why? Because when Shalomah did that, what happened? Yahuwah anger burned against him when he built all those idols to those strange women. And he built idols to them. Just like he did in Ezekiel. Yakaziah. And it says, while adding one thing to another, to find the schemes of things. which my soul has sought repeatedly, but I have not found. One man among 1,000 I found, but a woman. One man among 1,000 I have found, but a woman among these I have not found. See, this alone I found, that Yahuwah made man upright, but they have sought out many schemes or many inventions. So when we start looking at, he's looking for a man, I ain't found one, and a woman, I ain't found. He said, one among 1,000 I found, but a woman among those I have not found. See, this alone I found, that Yahuwah made man upright, but they have sought out many schemes. Right? When you look at the beginning, when after Adam and Yahuwah sinned, they hid themselves, and then you see Yahuwah coming, Yahuwah coming in the garden in the cool of the day. He said, "Where are you, Adam?" Where are you? I made you upright. All the words of Yahuwah's mouth is what? Upright, integrity, equitable. He said, I made you upright. I made you by the word of Yahuwah. Where are you? He said, I ain't found one. And a woman I ain't found. Where Adam and Yahuwah at? Where the man and woman in the garden? I don't see them. He said, he says, see, this alone I found, that Yahuwah made man upright, but they have sought out many schemes, inventions. So the word for inventions is kishabon, right? Kishabon. It means a warlike machine, a mental machination, an engine, an invention, devices, inventions, devices. Remember that word from Makashaba. Every thought and imagination was on the evil continually, and Bereshit was Makashaba. It meant thought. It meant inventions. Every intent, every purpose, every invention was evil continually. Or you say evil continually? Their own imaginations. You're creating your own understanding. So definition of machinate, right? It says machination, right? Machinate. It means he said, but they sought out many plans or plots, especially to do harm. You mean the whole earth is full of violence? Man has sought out many inventions, schemes to bring about a plot. It says their plots were evil. Every thought and imagination, every makashaba, their plot, their plan, their purpose was evil. He said man sought out evil plots and evil schemes, and how you say, and evil inventions. He said but he made man upright. He made Adam upright though. I know that. He made him by the word of Yahuwah. But they sought out many schemes. Many plots, evil plots and schemes. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. They created gods and idols, just like Yakaziel. They were full of violence. They burnt the woman at the stake because he gave a poor person helping someone. Filling the whole earth with violence and unjust gain and provoking Yahuwah to anger. And guess who he put all the reproach on? On Yahusha. That's what he said, reproaches have broken my heart. It has broken my heart. So when we start looking at this, we gotta look at it the way it is. So this is Kazum, Revelations chapter 2. It says, but I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at the first. Oh, you mean, what did the garden mean? The first habitation of man before he was, what? When he was brought into the earth? That's what the garden means, gone. Oh, you mean the 8th. And when you eat it, add it up equals the 8. You mean the 8th day. On the last day, the great day of the Mu'ah, Yahushua cried out. Oh, you mean like the woman? Like Yusuf. And amazingly, when Yusuf brought his family over to save much people alive, what did he take them at? To the best land. Oh, you mean like the Garden of Eden? Oh, you mean the garden? It said, man, he said, you abandoned the love you had at first. Remember, therefore, where you have fallen, and repent, and do the works you did at first. What was Adam's first assignment? Let them have authority of the fish, the sea, fowls, every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and all the earth. Let them be fruitful and multiply, be great, and fill the earth with sons and daughters, and subdue it. Take care of the animals, the trees, the plants, servants in the garden. Remember, I said before, I said if you can't be kind and gentle and to animals and plants, don't think you're going to be kind to a human. Like those women who gave bread and water to those poor men, or like Rebecca at the well, or like Moshe at the well, or like Yahushua with the animals, or like Adam in the garden before he fell. And it says, if not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place unless you repent. So I'm like he said, it grieved me that I made man on the earth. I'm going to move man from the earth. I'm going to remove your little lampstand. I'm going to remove you from the earth. I'm grieved that I made man on the earth. Yeah, he said, yet this you have. You hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He said, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the congregations, the assemblies. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat of the tree of life, which is in paradise of Yahuwah. Oh. Huh? Where are you going to do that at? To the one who overcomes, I will grant him to eat of the tree of life, which is in the paradise of Yahuwah. So where is that at? That's in the garden. In the garden. Oh, you mean the last great day, the eighth day. When we added up, God, what is it equal to? Eighth day. The last great day of the feast. Yahushua cried out, any man thirst, let him come to me. Don't go to the Yahudim. Don't go to Yasharal. They're going to give you sour wine to drink. Don't go to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. Because they're going to burn you on the stake. They're going to put bee honey on you. You better come to me to drink. I'm going to be kind and gentle, meek and lowly like those poor women. Amazingly, those women gave the people who were in need, he said, you done unto least of them, you done unto me. He said, you do it to the least of them, you done unto me. Remember the poor. Right? He says, to the one who conquers, I will grant him to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of Yahuwah, in the Gan. Isn't that what it means? Paradise, the garden. The last day, the great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried. And amazingly, it says, Barak are they that do his commandments and believe on Yahushua Mashiach, for they have right to the tree of life. That's in the garden, in the Gan. In Revelations 22:14. I believe so. So this is Yochanan 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with all, Yahuwah, and the Word was all. He was in the beginning with all. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. You see what they do in the dark? Ezekiel? There was a man sent from all, whose name was Yochanan. He came as a witness to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, the or, but came to bear witness of the light. Just like it was in the beginning on the first day, Akkad. The Ruach Marakaf al-Panim, all that received the light. In the beginning, the gods and the goddesses. Remember, the beginning of the house of the creation of the gods. Bereshith bara Elohim. He said, bear witness about the true light, which gives light to every one was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. He came into his own, and his own people did not receive him. For all that received him gave you power. But all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become the children of all, Yahuwah, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of all. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen the glory, the kabod, as the only Son from the Father, full of grace, and truth, Amen. So we look at him pitching his tent here. When he says, "Now the Word became flesh and pitched his tent among us, and we saw his esteem, as the only as of an only brought forth of the Father, complete in favor and truth." When we look at him pitching his tent here, he came here to bear our reproach, to bear our sin. Not only to bear our sin, but to bring us back to who we were before, to our original state, that no longer every imagination and thought will be evil continually. So, all of Yukanan or 1 John 2:24. Let what you've heard let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. If what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you will abide in the Ben and the Ab, the Father and the Son, the life of the house and the strength of the house. And this is the promise that he has made to us, eternal life. He said, "He that overcomes, I'll let you eat from the tree of eternal life." That's why he said, why he got rid of Adam, because he had knowledge of good and evil. He said, become like one of us. He said, as he take from the tree of life, and he lived forever. You can't live forever and be a transgressor of Yahuwah's word. Like, he's like, no, I can't let you do that. So I have to, there's no way you can do that. He's like, no, you have to be in alignment with me. He never told Adam he couldn't eat from the tree of life. He said, don't eat from the tree of what? The knowledge of good and evil. Didn't he say that? Did he ever tell Adam he couldn't eat from the tree of life? He said the knowledge of good and evil, don't eat from that tree. So Bereshith 1:1. In the beginning, Elohim created the Shamaim and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Just like he said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with all, and the Word was all. All things were created through him, and without him was anything made that was made. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. Right? And the Ruach, Elohim, was hovering on the face of the waters, and Elohim said, let there be light, or. And there was or higher. And Elohim saw that the light was good. Just how he made man. He made man upright. It was good. Very good, actually. And Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the Or Yum, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning. Right? The first day, Akkad. Oh, you mean, let the two, he says, for this cause shall a man leave mother and father, and shall cleave unto his Ishah, or the woman shall leave her father and mother, and they who shall be what? Akkad, one flesh. First day of creation. Oh, you mean first day. Notice how everything has to be one in order to operate and how Yahuwah wants it. Right? So when we look at, of course, we look at it again, we look at the house, like the house. People say, why he had to cry out twice? For two houses. Muth. And amazingly, when you see when Yahushua cried out 2 times, how many times did Yusuf have to cry out? He had to cry out, one for Pharaoh's house and for the other men of Pharaoh. He did it twice. That all Mizraim heard it and the house of Pharaoh. Then you have house, strength, right? Because both houses need strength, right? Behold, the nail. He pitched his tent among us, right? Behold, the nail. He pitched his tent among us. Behold, totality. Nail. See, totality. The nail. Strength. Look at every first word. Water. Fountain. See. Speak. Revealed. Because hey means light as well. Ha means light, revealed, behold. So you see, he pitched his tent here. The word of Yahuwah pitched his tent here. He dwelt among us. The world was made by him and through him, but the world did not comprehend him. They couldn't comprehend him. And it didn't. The darkness did not overcome it either. Even though they thought it did. Just like they did in Sodom and Gomorrah with the woman with the they thought their darkness was actually overcoming the evil. Or their darkness was overcoming light because she was helping the poor man. The other woman was helping the poor man. They thought their darkness was overcoming the light. No, it wasn't. They thought the elders thought what they were doing in Ezekiel was actually something they were doing in the dark. They thought no, Yahuwah didn't see him. They don't even know that Yahuwah is 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Beholding all the works of man. Right. So when we start looking at these aspects, they couldn't comprehend it. They didn't even know. Right? Didn't even know. But he pitched his tent here. Let's see who pitched his tent here. Right? People say, what do you mean? So when we look at the yad, the hey, the u, and the ah, or the ha, right? When you look at it, right? The yad is behold. Well, the yad is hand, right? The hey is behold. The u is, or the wa is nail. And the hey in the final form is behold, right? Yahuwah's name means what? Behold the hand, behold the nail. Like we just read in Bereshith, where what? He pitched his tent here, right? He pitched his tent here with nail pegs for two houses. House, strength, nail. Behold the nail, behold the nail. Right? You look, people saying, why these things are significant? Why he had to cry out twice on the stake? Because at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. Yusuf had to cry out twice. Adam had to surely die, Muth twice. Even the 2 women, notice they both cried out 2 times. He said, no, I'm not even going to pity. But the woman pitied. But the people of Sodom and Gomorrah didn't pity people who were doing righteous acts. But Yahuwah didn't pity people who were doing evil acts. You see how people operate? But when Yahuwah saw somebody, the evil didn't pity the good acts that somebody did, Yahuwah heard it. And guess what he didn't? He didn't pity the ones who did the evil acts. But the people who do good, he'll hear. Right? So you see his name when you add up Yahuwah's name, it means Yahuwah. Right? You add it up. It means Yahuwah. His name is Yahuwah. But his name means behold the hand, behold the nail. He pitched his tent here. Oh, you mean he was in the sun and pitched his tent here? Because they both pitching their tents here. Right? Oh, you mean I and my Father are one. Right. So Yuchanan 20 and 24 through 27. Now Thomas, one of the 12 called the twin, was not with them. Then Yahusha came. So there you go. There go the tent. Right? He pitched his tent among us, right? He came among us as the only begotten of the Father of the Ab, full of Khan and truth and Amat. Grace and truth, right? It says, so the disciples told him, we have seen the Master, the Adon. But he said to them, unless I see in his hands the marks of nails, and place my finger into the marks of the nails. He pitched his tent, nails, right? Tent peg. And place my hands in his side, I will never believe. He said, I will never believe. Oh, you hard-hearted people. You know why he's so hard-hearted? Because when you look at those people in Ezekiel that were worshiping those idols, that were weeping for Tammuz, right? The ones that were burning incense to oxes and creeping things, the ones that were worshiping the sun, that's Mr. Thomas right here. He said, I'll never believe. It says 8 days later. Oh, what feast is this? 8 days late. What feast? The great day of the feast. 8 days. Oh, you mean like the garden? You add it up, it equals to 8, right? Oh, you mean like we were just adding it up, just according to the number system of man's wisdom, right? Add it up, equals to 8. What does 8 mean for us? Because every 8th day after a son is born, he said you have to circumcise him. But let's see. His disciples were inside again, and Thomas was with him, although the doors were locked. Yahushua came and stood among them and said, so he morphed into the room. He morphed. He shapeshifted and morphed into the room. He went from a visible being to a non-visible being. He went from invisible to visible. Because the things that were visible were not made by the things that you see are visible were not made by the things that are visible, made by the things that are unseen. He just appeared in the room. And he said, and stood among them and said, Shalom be to you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here and see my hands, and put your hand and place it in my side, and do not disbelieve, but believe. Then Thomas answered, my master and my Elohim. Yahushua said to him, have you believed because you have seen me? Barak are those who have not seen, yet have believed. Barak are those who have not seen, but yet have believed. Right? Barak are those who have not seen, but yet have believed. Why would he say Barak are those who have not seen and yet not believed? Because the things that you see was not made by the things visible. They were made by the things invisible. So in order to believe on him, you have to believe that everything you see was created by things invisible. That's why he says Barak are those who have not seen. Because if you see it, then it's a different belief than for people who haven't seen, because you believe it according to things invisible making things visible. Just like it was in the beginning. So this is ODE Shaluma 7:18 through 28. It says, the Most High shall be known in his Kodeshim, his saints, to announce those that have songs of the coming of Yahuwah, that they may go forth to meet him, and may sing to him with joy and with harps and many tones. The seers shall come before him, and they shall be seen before him, and they shall praise Yahuwah for his love, because he is near, and he holdeth. And hatred shall be taken away from the earth, along with jealousy shall be drowned. All that hatred you saw them in Sodom and Gomorrah, all that hatred and violence you saw in Bereshith, all that hatred and violence you saw in Yekaziel, it wasn't the fact that they were doing it towards the one who made them, who made all things. They were doing the violence toward him. And he says, and guess what he said? Jealousy, it shall be drowned. And he said, if you cause one of these little ones, these children that believe in me to sin, he said it'd be better that a millstone be tied around your neck and you be drowned in the depths of the sea. He said, I'm going to remove you. He said, I'm going to remove you. Same thing I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the people of the earth and hatred. I'm going to remove you. You hate me? How you going to hate the one who made all things? He said, He said, let not love and faithfulness depart from you. Then he told, then Kukma Shli Shaluma said, he's like, man, let not love and faithfulness. He said, wisdom, this is the fear. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. He said, that's wisdom. Depart from evil is understanding. You know why he wrote that? Because he didn't fear Yahuwah when he did all that idol worship to all those women that he made, that he had married. That's the only reason he wrote it. He was doing idol worship just like Ezekiel. He had hatred for you to the Creator. He had hatred toward the mother and the father of the universe, of the cosmos, that sits in the highest Shamayim, who made wisdom. He even wrote it himself. He made Kukma. He made wisdom. He's wiser than all his works that he made. To the only wise, all Yahuwah, right? The tent peg, behold the nail, behold the hand. It says, they who make songs shall sing of the Khan or Khan of Yahuwah Most High. Why? Because Yahusha came, he said he came as the only begotten of the Father, Son, full of Khan and truth, what the world calls grace. Another chance. Says they shall bring their songs, you mean the singing, and their hearts shall be like the day, and like the excellent beauty of Yahuwah, their pleasant song. It'd be just like the beauty of Yahuwah. We mean he made man a model and fashioned it in his likeness. He made it beautiful, ruddy. He said, you're going to be great. You're going to be fruitful and multiply. Be great. And he says, and there shall neither be anything that breathes without knowledge, nor anything that is dumb or that doesn't speak. He said, ain't going to be nothing. Then he says, for he hath given a mouth to his creation, to open the voice of the mouth towards Tammuz, towards idols, towards creeping things and oxen, toward the sun, the S-U-N that rises at 6 portal, towards, it says praise, it says voice of the mouth toward him, and to praise him. So when that woman cried out and gave a blast all the way to the highest Shamayim, who she think she was crying out to? She couldn't even say his name, but it was intertwined, her little cry. Like it was just like, but it had his name in it. All the way up to the highest Shamayim. She just cried out. And when he cried out, it hit his head, hit his ear. It just hit his ear. For he has given a mouth to his creation, to open the voice of the mouth toward him and praise him. Confess ye his power, and show forth his Khan, his grace. Hallelujah. What is his grace? What is his Khan? By sending his only begotten son, and him what? Bearing your reproach. He sent the word to do it. Because that's the only thing that's going to bear the reproach. He created man upright, integrity, equitable by his word. He sent his son by his word and sent it to accomplish what he sent it to do. The same way he sent it to make Adam. He made the garden with his word, and he made the tree of life with his word. Or the Aydahchay, right? He made it with his word. So now he's telling people, those who believe in him, who don't disbelieve but believe, who have not seen, to confess his power and show forth his second chance. Hallelujah. So when we look at this last great day, the great day of Chag Sukkah, the 8th day, we look at it as a shub, or returning to the garden, to understanding the purpose to those who overcome is to eat from the tree of life. That's in the midst of paradise. To understand why he's crying out, he's revealing, because the knowledge of Yahuwah has arrived. Behold the hand, behold the nail. He pitched his tent among us, and he dwelt among us. As the only begotten son of the Ben of the Ab, full of Khan and Amat, grace and truth. For those who haven't seen him, you believe, not according to a feeling or a prayer, like they say, but according to the word, according to understanding the word, the words, right? The Aleph through the top, the Aleph through the two, understanding the words. From Rashid, the beginning, the creation of the gods, to the end. And understanding that, we look at him as our Abba, our Father, and our Mother. To know that, to walk in newness of life, to walk in love and compassion and humility continually, is to follow his son Yahusha, his word, and to not forsake love and faithfulness, to have fear and awe and reverence and honor towards our Father and our Mother, and to trust in him that we may understand the truth, that we put away all our own imaginations and our own thoughts and our own will, and that we should yield ourselves to him and not worship idols and worship other gods and worship things that he created, but to esteem and show honor to the one who made them, because that is the purpose of man, for every woman, man, woman, and child. For all that received him, he gave you power. He gave you power to show forth his power. He said to show forth his power and to show forth his second chance, his Khan, his grace. That's what he gave you power for. Right? So when we look at our lives, we look at our understanding, we look at who we are as sentient beings, as people created in his image, that we walk in newness of life. We walk in halak, kum halak. We walk in his light and his love and his compassion, and not yielding ourselves over to our own imagination and our own thoughts, but according to his word, we move, we breathe, and we live. That every imagination and thought in our mind may be ta'ud, or good, continually. Good, continually. For understanding is to turn away from every imagination and thought. Every day is evil, and to say every imagination and thought is only to do good. To be kind to those in need and those in help. To be kind to the animals, the trees. To not be filled with cruelty. So as we move forward in our lives, we move forward in compassion, in love, in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, temperance, samuna, forgiveness, sisterly kindness, brotherly kindness, not walking in conceitedness, but walking in humility. For the greater thou art, the more humble you become. For Yahuwah reveals mysteries to the meek. For the meek shall inherit the earth. They shall inherit the earth.